I move that we open the Conservation Commission meeting for the town of Marshfield for Wednesday, August 17th, 2020. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
7:00.
As per usual now, we will be having a hybrid meeting. In the event of a technological failure with the video link, the meeting will continue in this room and be available later on Marshfield television. The protocol will be five minutes uninterrupted for applicants, 1 minute for the conservation administrator, 10 minutes for commissioner discussion, and this is a closed discussion only between commissioners. Then we will open to public comment. Only new information, please, if you have a public comment. All comments are to be addressed to the chair or the appropriate hearing officer. No crosstalk. With that, we will go to the business items, the first being a de minimis activity for 64 Macker Terrace. This is the installation of a generator stand and associated trenching. The generator stand design is constructed of wooden landscape ties and a concrete slab on top. We already have commissioner approval from the appropriate number of commissioners, so this is a procedural ratification. I move that we vote to approve the generator stand as a de minimis activity with special conditions. May I have a second?
Second.
Do you want to read the special conditions
No,
in
we
first?
just have somebody in the public that's giving me a signal. Is there anything of value to add?
Yeah.
Could you just give us your name
My name
and,
is Richard Kirchie, I'm the owner.
Very good,
64
sir.
Macker.
okay,
The electrician who's doing the installation, David Anderson, sent me a new platform that he's discussed with the building commissioner, and that he knows, and I've uploaded the photo and the design to the permit as well, so.
so this what we're seeing here is gonna,
Is this the new? No, that's
So
the
you're gonna-
old.
That's the old.
okay, got it, that's
The new one
fine.
is like,
Posts, right?
posts.
Yeah.
It's the, I guess it's sort of like the one that you guys.
It's the approved one.
It's the one that we
yeah.
approved for
Yeah,
Yeah,
our
okay.
back on
procedures.
Perfect.
December
Right.
7th, which we gotta clean up because Andrew made some revisions, we'll get to that, that's
Right.
other steps. It sounds, and you're using diamond pierce?
I don't know what it does.
They got the sticks that go out in the end?
There's some sort of drill thing into the ground.
They use a drill gun, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Diamond
diamond pierce, yeah, okay.
Diamond pierced,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
Okay,
right,
so
so
we'll
we'll just
ignore
sw-
that,
You ignore that.
and
Okay.
you're going with the design that we are familiar with, and so I would say that that changes nothing. I move that we vote to approve this generator stand as a de minimis activity with special conditions. Do you want to read the special conditions, Michael?
Yes. Ensure best management practices and building codes are followed. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield zoning boards of appeals and building permits. And see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for any work beyond the approved work activities.
May I have a second?
Okay, that's David Good.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, it's a 700. Thank you very much for getting that
Thank
straightened out.
you for,
And adjusting as well, you know?
yeah, excellent, thank you. All above board.
Okay.
Okay, 18 Foster Avenue. This project is the replacement of two concrete footings for a second-story deck and egress. They have replaced a footing, added an additional footing, and cleared storm debris lodged under the stairs for egress purposes. The new footings are both concrete, and the additional footing is required for structural integrity. This has also received appropriate commissioner approval, so this is again a procedural ratification. Would you like to read the conditions?
Yep. The special conditions are as follows. Ensure best management practices and building codes are followed. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. And see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
There's a picture of it up
And
top.
there's a
There it
picture. It's
is,
clearly not too structurally
It
stable.
needs to be safer.
Need some
Little
TLC.
attention.
I move that we vote to approve this work on the egress as a de minimis activity with above-mentioned special conditions. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, very good.
Item B2, 48 Boxboard Road. This is a hazard tree removal on what may be conservation land. We have a hazardous tree just on the other side of the fence from this property. The homeowner wants to cut the tree as it is posing a hazard to his home. Mr. Gervaisi believes the tree is in town land under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. There are no resource areas involved. There is some question as to whether this is town-owned conservation land or land owned by Woodland Builders Trust. Is there anyone here to discuss this?
I can, yep. So it's unclear whether the hazard tree is within this highlighted area. This larger parcel up here is the Woodland Builders Trust, and this strip down here is Concom land. If it is on Concom land determined to be, it's seeking approval to cut the hazard tree if it's on Concom land.
So
But it's
that-
without-
that
outside of-
purple shading is
Yes.
where the tree is in that purple
Approximate
shading?
location, yes. It's it could be on Concom land down here, on the homeowner's property, or on this Woodland Builders Trust. But this is so that if the tree is on Concom land, they have permission to cut it.
So
But
that's
it's-
the reason they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see this tree has got issues. I was just walking with Eversource on power lines, and this is something that they would get rid of, you know?
They get rid of everything.
Well, we try to work with them. I tell them no sometimes.
So how can we clarify this?
I would say that, you know, if you're okay with this,
Yeah.
we would probably say that the commission goes, and if it's on town-owned land, and we have this, Mike's made this motion here, C120105, that would be this town-owned land that Mike's highlighted down here. It's just a
Yep.
very narrow strip. Okay, next time we'll show you a little bit more of it so you can see the whole thing out to the street. And if you give that approval, good, that's good for them. But if it's on, we're not letting them do any work on anybody else's parcel. That's where you streamline into this parcel only,
Yeah.
which is in the care and custody of Concom, and only you can allow that or somebody higher up.
So if we vote to approve the removal of a tree on town-owned land,
Right.
we still need to go back there and verify.
Well, then
outside
it's up to them to deal with it. We're not giving them any permission to get on the Woodlands
Okay.
Builders
Yeah.
Trust. You're focusing in on only the town-owned parcel. Isn't that, is that?
Yeah,
the intention of your
precisely.
motion? Okay,
Precisely.
got it, okay.
Okay, so then it's back on them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I would then move that we vote to approve the removal of the tree on town-owned land, parcel C120165,
By the town.
to be removed by the town.
Because that's the other check and balance here, because it's
Right.
the tree warden, or if we had a budget, or if we got a budget through town administrator, we'd get a town contractor. So they can't go on a town-owned property and do the work. So if it's on town-owned land, they have to come back.
They have to come back.
Right, so
Okay.
they'll figure it out pretty quick. Somebody will tell them in the tree business that, you know, we can't do it unless we have, it's, you
Okay.
know what I mean?
May I have a second?
David.
All in favor? Aye.
That's beautiful.
All right, item B3, 74 Blue Heron Way. This is a de minimis activity versus a request for an amended order of conditions related to the construction of a pool house. Is there anyone here to address this?
Can you give your name and your address?
Fred Porcher, owner of the parcel.
Okay, you want to explain what,
I can hover if you like. Is this the vicinity?
Yeah, so the property has wetlands on it, which were delineated prior to the pool. I think that was 2020 April. It sought a variance for the pool and fence because it was within the 50. There's also a 25-foot existing sewer easement on the property right where your cursor is there. And so the pool was constructed, the permit is still open, and we were hoping to get a de minimis approval to put that small 16 by 16 wood shed pool house. It's outside of the 75, outside of the 25-foot easement. Existing surface there is impervious that would be maintained either by lawn mulch or rock. But
do you plan to have any infrastructure to that building, plumbing, electricity?
probably electrical.
So will you be trenching?
I haven't got that far yet.
We have a policy, so we have a de minimis. If you're gonna have trenching, tell us now so we can add it in, and then we can get that resolved.
Yeah, it'll probably be buried conduit. There is a sub panel that was put in for the pool, so we'd probably jump off that. It's against the house there, and then trench through the crushed rock that's there. But yeah, no water, gas.
Okay.
So you might modify that, construct pool house and electrical trenching?
What's that, please?
Electrical trenching?
Yeah, leave the option open.
Electrical trenching. Okay, why don't we just call it utility?
Should I do
Is that
overhead instead?
what?
No.
Yeah, thank you. So, utility is good, or a word
Utility
about that?
trenching.
We have utility lines. It's a policy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's,
And then the way we catch it, utility trenching. Utility line trenching. Okay.
so we have a choice between de minimis or an amended order. Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, it could just be a de minimis change that they catch on the as-built.
On the as-built?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna have a survey to close out the as-built on the pool,
Yeah,
but I figured it may be easier just
yeah, and that
Yeah,
way,
as
that
long
way
as-
you'll have the location on it, and
survey everything.
you're good.
Okay. In that case, I move that we vote to approve the deviations or construction of the pool house and utility trenching as a de minimis activity to be captured under the as-built during the request for certificate of compliance submittal. May I have a second?
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just have one question about the timing. I think you said the
It's
permit.
closed.
Oh.
Still, just messing with you. Go ahead.
No, I was just hoping, I think the permit for the pool was open until 2023.
Yeah, and you can get an extension if you want through a Form 7. It's a $100 filing fee, and you'll probably get that if you need it.
Okay,
You can also amend, but you just got this through a de minimis, so you're good.
okay.
But come back to us, Mike or I or Liz, and we'll get you going for another 2 to 3 years, whatever you need, you know?
Hopefully before that.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That will keep it alive, and then if you have other things, like, let's just say patios or whatever, take advantage of this and get it done once, you know what I mean? And we'll want pervious typically.
Impervious.
Pervious,
Okay.
so
yeah, yeah,
water
yeah.
will trickle
Yeah,
through.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you.
Item B4 is 310 Arrowhead Road. Again, this is a de minimis activity versus a request for amended order of conditions. This is a pool that's already been before us, and they are proposing some deviation in the siting of the pool and the retaining wall. Is there anyone here?
They're online. Andrew, could you give your name and your address for the record, please?
Sure, Bill. Thank you very much. Andrew Coughlin, homeowner at 310 Arrowhead in Marshfield. The project, as you indicated, has already been through the process. It's a slight reorientation of the pool itself. After some discussions with the contractor, the way the original drawings had been established, the retaining wall was directly against the coping of the pool. they indicated they needed just a little bit of
Within there, right?
breathing room to work with in order to be able to get it in as installed and then install anchors. So worked with the engineering company that had originally done the drawings, reoriented the pool, rerouted the retaining wall, staying outside of the 25-foot wetlands buffer, but just giving on average about a foot of space along the border of it to accommodate what the contractor asked for.
So they slightly had to move the pool, everybody, and they also kind of went a little closer to 25, but they did not exceed it. They're giving mitigation, which is adequate, and based upon Mike and my experience with this, there's no need for any changes on any of that. This is a minor change. They've been nothing but cooperative.
Yeah.
Before we vote, I just want to point out that this project needs a building permit, a ZBA hearing, and a Board of Health permit. And as per the building commissioner, he has not seen anything on this yet. So you might want to get with the building commissioner and make sure everything else is in order.
Right, and you haven't started yet, Andrew. You're just getting your ducks in a row for this change. Is that correct?
That's correct. We hadn't heard anything about the Board of Health, but we'll look into that and certainly make sure that we're doing things in accordance with.
It's standard issue to go down that pathway.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, in that case, I move that we vote to approve these deviations, which is a relocation of a portion of the retaining wall and pool as a de minimis activity to be captured under the as-built during the request for certificate of compliance submittal. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That joke for a second on that one.
Okay, I believe that concludes our business items. Now we will move on to continuations. We have quite a few. First up being 76 Carolyn Circle, SE 422950. I move that we vote to continue this to the September 7th meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
274 Foster Ave, SE 422958. I move that we vote to continue this to the October 5th public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 16 Wilson Road, SE 422996. I move that we vote to continue this to the September 7th public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. The next one is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Ellen Dunford to determine whether the area depicted on the plans is an area subject to jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. I move that we vote to continue this to September 7th public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's.
No. I didn't request for it to be delayed.
Zero Edmund?
Zero Edmund, we actually got a request for this. The reason being is because we haven't had the site visit yet, and that's standard for.
I had a site visit.
Where, this is the wrong site.
This is the wrong site.
Yeah,
It was
this is,
14 Gulf Road.
Oh, no, so
No,
what's
no, no.
happening, oh, ma'am, so we're going through continuations, that, this is not your
We're not-
property?
We're
We'll
not
get to you in
to
about
yours yet.
4 minutes.
Okay.
yeah, it's after.
About 4 minutes, it's Mrs. Dunford, right?
Yeah, I
I'm
think,
not
yeah.
continuing anything. I've been trying since January.
Where's Dunford come up on the?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Now, wait, this says new hearing, do not read legal ad.
New hearing, it should say due,
Do,
my bad.
okay.
Yeah, I already had my variance meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay,
sorry,
you're all set, yeah.
my mistake, my mistake.
Rare mistake on Chair Hannafin, all right?
Okay.
That happens.
Start over. 0 Edmund Road, SE 4229, do we not have a number yet?
Yeah, we don't have a number still, it'll be coming soon, I'm sure.
Okay, so, In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, August 17th, to consider the request for a notice of intent by Edmund Road LLC. I move that we vote to continue this to September 7th, 2022, public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then for the record, everything but the DEP numbers are A-okay.
1203 Ferry Street, SE 422988. I move that we vote to continue to September 7th, public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 1184 Ferry Street, SE 422989. I move that we vote to continue to September 7th, 2022, public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And lastly, Oregon Road, SE 422990. I move that we vote to continue to the September 7th public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
I have this one too, on page 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now,
I was having a panic attack.
sorry.
I'm 8 months into trying to get this bill.
Okay. This is a new hearing. I will read the legal ad once again. In compliance with the regulations of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, August 17th, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Ellen Dunford. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Right.
Can I confirm administrative requirements?
Yes, absolutely, the taxes and the fees have been paid.
Okay, beautiful, thank you. So this is an RDA for the construction of a 14-foot by 21 feet glass-walled room over an existing deck with 11 new footings that will be placed under the existing structure. Existing egress will remain as is, and only utilities will be electricity. This activity is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage, AO3, barrier beach, coastal dune, and buffer zone to coastal beach. It's received ZBA approval and I believe building permit as well. Yes, okay. The new structure will not alter the compliance of the main
Right,
structure
it won't
itself.
extend beyond the deck, and it doesn't even take up the whole deck, that's correct.
Is there anything else that I may have left out?
What's your name for the record? Sorry, I didn't mean to read the, your name for the record?
Ellen Dunford?
Yes, ma'am, and you, yep, okay, gotcha.
Right, these will just be in addition down the center of the support, additional beams. There are already exterior support pilings, but down the center, they're gonna run a beam, and the pilings will be underneath. So actually from the street, you won't see any pilings change, they're going in, there's already other pilings. And then the building will be essentially a glass room with a roof.
And the surface will remain open below.
Oh, yeah.
And if I may,
Do we have-
Commissioner Karen,
Yes, actually, I was going to
the
defer to Michael Seeley.
below the deck was all crushed gravel and stone, so it's perfectly pervious. Ideal.
Remain the same.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole house is elevated, there's no,
Right, yes, I've seen, I drove by, but there was
Yeah.
a lot going on, so I didn't.
it's a
not-
drainage pit underneath, it drains, everything goes underneath the house.
So just one thing more, just like that, Mike picked up that there was a prior permit and it had received a complete certificate of compliance. So this house is permit city here
Right.
and it's in
Yeah.
conformance.
Do we have any commissioner comments or questions? Do we have any public or anyone on Zoom that would like to question? All right, well, seeing none, what I would like to do is make a motion to close this hearing and issue a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a -2 with special conditions. Could you?
Yep.
list those?
The special conditions are as follows. Ensure that that best building management practices, current NFIP FEMA regulations, and building codes are followed before commencing the work. Obtain all pertinent permits. The surface below the glass sunroom is to remain open with pervious surfacing only, and this is in perpetuity, so don't pave below there. And see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Thank you, Michael. May I have a second?
Second?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the positive 5 is the bylaw, so the bylaw is clearly called out. It's also on the form. This came up because a lawyer asked us about 4 years ago, and Bob Galvin and I discussed it, so the positive 5 is for the bylaw. The negative 2, just so it's clear, is a good thing. That means it's permitted.
Bill?
I've been asked to kind of share. Understood.
You're good to,
Done?
you're done? I'm sorry I scared you. That was my fault entirely.
And I do have one question, I'm a little confused because I've gone through the permits, then is there a 2-week delay?
Us.
like,
No.
for
Yes.
the-
Well, we will write you your permit, which we have 21 days to do.
We'll probably get it done
Yeah,
tomorrow, though.
probably get it done tomorrow or the day after.
Check in with Liz,
Yeah.
Mike, or me, and we'll get it done. Then we can get to your building permit. You're gonna have 3 stages. You're gonna have floodplain permit review, floodplain permit approval from our department and others, and then probably some other level of permitting as well. So we can dovetail all that as soon as we know that they're available.
And I don't know the length of time for stuff like that.
Ours will go quick.
Okay, for the permit. but then-
Our permit, and then we'll sign off whatever we can from the building department through the floodplain permit and any other permits that they have. They may have a residential permit for you. We can
So
sign
do I
on
have
up
to
rapid.
file anything else?
I would follow up with them once
Yeah,
you receive
that's
our
fine.
determination of applicability form.
Yeah, I've tried looking, there's no like, if this, then that stuff.
Why don't you come see us and we'll walk you through the permit thing so you could have a little better handle on it.
That
And then
would be
that way
great.
you'll be empowered to control it, okay, going
Okay,
forward?
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you so much.
either Mike or I can walk you through it,
Yeah.
all right?
Thank you.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. 249 Bay Avenue. This is a continued hearing, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Okay, it is continued, but it's the first time it's been open, Bill, confirm taxes, fees, and
Yes.
butters.
Yeah, butters are good. We've got a DEP number. Taxes are handled.
Okay, so this is a dredging project. We got somebody here to present this.
Yes, Chris Sanderson with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Okay, Chris,
Good.
we're hearing you good. Can you hear us?
Yes, yep, thank you.
Okay, please proceed.
What I do is this right here.
Bill, any chance you could rotate that plan?
Absolutely, bear with, okay? All right, we're going
Thank you.
clockwise, we're going counter. All right, so, like that, take the mouse and you can drive it. All right, let us know what you need, Chris. We'll do our best to accommodate, okay? This plan is showing up beautifully.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so we submitted a notice of intent on behalf of the property owner, Robert Gray, for maintenance dredging activities at the subject property, 249 Bay Avenue that was mentioned. As you can see, the subject area is located in Green Harbor River, adjacent to the Federal Navigation Channel entering Green Harbor. The area depicted with the bold red line is the area of the proposed dredging. Overall area of that is just about an acre, 43,221 square feet. And we're proposing that dredge down to an elevation of -5 mean low water with a 1 foot overdig to a maximum elevation of -6 mean low water. So the overall volume of sediment being proposed for removal is approximately 5,725 cubic yards. Now, this dredging will allow safe navigation and access to the water-dependent structure, which is the dock pier structure that you can see adjacent to the building there. Material will be excavated using a clamshell bucket, dredge, and barge, and all material will be lawfully disposed in conjunction with the permits that we'll be getting through the state and federal permits as well, Army Corps of Engineers. I don't believe that's been determined yet, but will be in conjunction with those permits. The area, we also received a letter back from the Division of Marine Fisheries We had previously submitted a different plan along with the notice of intent, but based on those comments, we actually reduced the overall square footage. They used to kind of go out in a triangle shape like that, but with the area being a shellfish habitat, they asked us to reduce the area, which we did, as well as maintain a 25-foot offset to the existing salt marsh, which is shown by a dashed black line there. So we're well outside of that, complying with all the Division of Marine Fisheries comments. Again, still going through the permitting process at the federal level, but seeking an order of conditions from the Marshfield Conservation Commission to perform this work. Also, along with the shellfish habitat and the DMF's comment, there will be shellfish mitigation proposed. That will be addressed upon issuance of a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers, and will be done in conjunction with the harbor master who has seen this plan as well. So that will be addressed. I think that's pretty much it. We do have some details on there showing a profile view of the dredge down to the elevation of -5 with 3-to-1 side slopes, and a turbidity barrier that will be used at the limit of work as necessary during the operation. I think that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Bill, your comments?
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of do a little dialogue with Chris. So first off, everybody, there was a larger section up here, okay? There's a triangle, got knocked out. They're sparing the salt marsh, and there's a lot less shellfish impacts. We asked them to put on here, Chris, am I hovering in the right place? Is this where the resource area markup is? The different?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna hover in as best I can without blowing this up. I guess not. So down in here, if you look at your plans, this will actually have the impacts here. So you'll have your square footage right there. So we'll have that forever. And the idea is to make this plan a long-term plan so that Mr. Gray or any owner of this property can use this plan as the basis going forward for ongoing conditions, which they also requested under this permit. So that was that. I did not add in the language about the shellfish mitigation on your orders, your special conditions, so I put back in, provide shellfish mitigation as approved by the property owner and harbor master, because that's pretty well known. The original site plan didn't have the proper FEMA. They've changed that, I believe. So they've got the July 9th, 2029, so we're good there. We want a little more description about this silt and turbidity barrier, which is hovering right down in here. This looks like something that would be around the marina itself. Is this actually what you would use in this kind of environment, Chris? Or are they floating?
That would kind of encompass the area work to prevent, sediment during the actual operation itself from exiting our limited work area, kind of containing it as, any erosion control barrier would do.
Right. And I'm taking it these numbers that are shown on the plan that Tom and you put on are updates to the NOI, which had bigger numbers, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so these are the accurate numbers you're seeing. So there's clear and convincing information in front of you. There was no mention really of dredge spoil destination, so I had talked to Tom Pozorowski. We wanted to give degrees of freedom, and what we had talked about was okay, we got that. Bear with me, I have it in here.
It's gonna be pending the analysis, right?
Yeah, it was pending the analysis, but I had land-based, and I had, just sort of find it exactly. Help me out, everybody.
Yeah, you had private, you had the dredge spoils area,
Yep,
and you had at sea, I believe.
yep, all of those. So what the concept was, the land-based would probably be offshore in one of the Massachusetts Bay designated offshore sites, pending the testing, because there's a sampling and analysis plan that goes along with these. We're not the only one giving the permit out. In addition to that, the land-based could be the dredge spoils area. That's been problematic, but it is in the town. Second, they can go to any landfill that's appropriate. And the third thing, and I think we have it here, is the neighboring lot, okay, which is over here. It's got a big, huge area that's gouged out. They have a boat float here. This is 34 marginal rear off the Cut River. And you can see this from the backside. I went in, I was having a meeting, and that this gentleman is looking to do is fill this, and he needs material. So this is the homeowner right here, and they'd like to fill this in and restore it. So potentially, this material, you know, could be an ongoing thing. It could go from, say, this location over there. That's a pretty short jump, but that's
Okay, that'll
problematic.
be a different hearing, correct?
Correct. That'll come on 34 marginal rear. But as Tom said, and the commission should know, there's a whole bunch of, got to test in this current location and also in the receiving location. So that's up to them. So to give them degrees of freedom, we'd write in all those scenarios so that they could actually go after that as per the sampling and analysis plan. That way we don't have to gum up the works. We give them degrees of freedom. They don't have to come back under special condition A and get a de minimis or a request for amended order conditions to make a change, which happened at Green Harbor, the Green Harbor Yacht Club. They added in offshore when they became eligible for that. And let's see what else there is. Okay, ongoing conditions, we have that. I just wanted to comment that DMF calls out that shellfish such as soft shell clam, blue mussel, and razor clam are present, and finfish, winter flounder in the area, so there's time of year constraints. We've captured that also during the construction period, so no work from February 1 through June 30th to provide relief for the winter flounder. And then we've also powered in special condition, long-term ongoing conditions under D3, so that this could become a closure document through a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions, referencing the D3 ongoing conditions. That's critical mass right there. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Bill. I've got a couple questions. The narrative was a little confusing. Has there been dredging at this location before?
I believe there has. I'm actually covering this hearing for Tom Pazerski, who was the project manager. And upon my reading the narrative, it did state that this area has been previously dredged. You know, I know there's a lot of sedimentary deposits due to, you know, adjacent boat access in and out of the channel, as well as storms. So that's my understanding. Bill, I'm not sure if you're aware of any.
I'm not in a position to actually search that out. I would say that I can't answer that either. I would say that it may have been due to channel work. That's a long, laborious effort. That would take you and I 3 hours to get down to what actually applied here. So the channel may have been, you know, dredged in the past, and it may have affected this area, either all or portion of it. So why don't we say, venture to guess, a portion of this probably has had some degree of dredging in the past, but not
Okay,
specifically
but
that thing.
we don't have a previous permit
For a
any
private owner, no, I don't
or any
think so. I would
previous
say low probability. yeah.
drawings. And have you got a speculation on what that material is? Is it mostly material that has come in through the channel? You know, do we anticipate it that it's sand and cobble, or is it more of the type of material that up by the marina?
Based on, I think, a recent conversation Tom had with the harbor master, you know, they do anticipate some silt, you know, from outwash. But below that, I believe it's real nice sand and cobble. That was my understanding.
Yeah, just as one commissioner, if it is suitable for beach nourishment, you know, I'd like to see it stay as close as possible.
Yeah,
With
I agree with
that,
Bert.
Yeah, and I think that will definitely be explored, but again, you know, we need to go through the whole process of the sampling and analysis, engineers, so that will absolutely be something we'll look into.
Thank you. The other thing is, I don't recall any ongoing conditions for dredging where we've been able to, you know, every dredging project I recall, you know, it's a separate filing.
So they can keep coming back for extensions. They can get a complete certificate of compliance, or you can have D3 conditions like you're trying to have right here, and then you can close out the ongoing condition with ongoing conditions. I would suggest that that's the way to go.
Where we haven't got a track record, you know, on this site or, you know, this particular applicant, I'm not totally opposed to that, but I think we need to be careful. We need to see how it
Would you like
goes.
to condition it better? Because I agree that it should be, I would say this is the first time a private entity is coming voluntarily forward and asking for a dredge project. To my knowledge, since I've been here, it's about 6 years. So I agree with the precautionary principle also. And maybe what we have to do is say that they have to get all subsequent permits, which they may require at Chapter 91 will go for 30 years. You can get extensions, I believe, but I don't know much about that. We did have a guy over on Marginal at 88. It was calling in a 1969 license, and we were well beyond that, but there were extensions and amendments, and they gave extra time. So that's a kind of a hard one to follow. But then you might have other departments that want everything done in 5 years. We don't have natural heritage here, so there's no 5 years for them. DMF's a commenting agency. So you're really looking at DEP for the Chapter 91 and the 401 water quality cert, and possibly the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will come in as well. Let them do their permitting as they want, but we don't want them having to come back here if we got a well-designed plan, and we could do this as a one and done.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the other commissioners for comments or questions.
Bert, I think I see the same concern about private entity doing dredging. How about possibly saying in the special conditions that they let conservation know that they're going to do dredging and submit the plan? Because they're going to have a plan, they're going to have a contractor come in. I didn't see it if it's in their bill.
For each dredge event, provide the conservation administrator with the destination, the dredge spoil location, the sampling analysis plan, evidence confirming completion of all testing requirements, special conditions, and permitting. This condition remains in perpetuity. That's pretty close to what you want.
No.
How about an updated plan as well?
That, it would be an updated plan on what they're going to dredge rather than where they're going to
Okay.
get rid of the
Okay.
remains.
So provide a current, plan to the conservation administrator depicting the dredge area not to exceed what is shown on the approved plan referenced in A, general conditions, item 8. So that would tie that back, and then anything that would change, only the commission could allow that, and then it creates a fate that you watch it. So if it gets bigger than this, that's the problem. Boom, new NOI.
May I speak?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with, that was my concern as well, because conditions can change
I agree.
drastically, so we're
Plus you
looking
got,
at
you might,
potentially very different set of circumstances with,
Okay.
it's a permit-heavy process, so I think to just have ongoing conditions without some constraints of what you mentioned seems like a good solution.
I'm good with that. That's awesome, yeah. That's awesome.
Other commissioners? So, you all feel it's closely enough constrained that we can let the ongoing conditions go on?
Just to take the maybe, what I'm feeling, that maybe this, do we also have obtain all subsequent permits, right? So, I have got here, provide current Mass DEP license, Chapter 91 license, 401 water quality, or equivalent documentation to the Conservation Administrator regarding the approved works conformance with all the requirements. That's ongoing. So those are really, then they're the secondary agents. They don't have to come back here except to provide a plan, basically, and notification.
I'm actually a little concerned that if your office has to do work each time this comes in for more work, you're not gonna get any fees?
No, what I'm thinking is that they're gonna basically stick to this. They're gonna give us a plan, we're gonna look at it, as long as it doesn't blow it up. And anybody, me or the next administrator or whatever, can see that. As long as it doesn't exceed this, then they're good to go on our end. They have to provide current Chapter 91 licensing, which might be 30 years out, and 401 water quality. So, they would have to provide all that to the commission. Basically, they're working with the state agencies, which are equipped to have all the sampling analysis and that higher order aspect. the commission has got the local, but we become the backbone for the other permits to come out through the state level. So I don't have a big problem with it, to be honest with you.
Okay, nothing further from,
I guess I can ask a question.
Yeah.
Why is it different for, for personal dredge than it is for like a
Well,
club or a corporation?
We're trying to do the same thing with the commercial. So we have a couple commercial in the harbor. We've got SHM Green Harbor Marina, and I think we gave them ongoing conditions. I believe on the Green Harbor Yacht Club, we gave them ongoing conditions also. I have to go back and look at it, so don't completely, but my concept was, where possible, get a well-streamlined plan and move forward. Now, with the property owner here, this individual is fully capable of it. If you mean, he's gonna have this. So they want constraints because somebody else might come in, they may not really understand this as well. And that changes it because it's not their profession. In other words, it's like, it's their property basically, and they're working in basically the Commonwealth's, land under the ocean is what's happening. So it's kind of unique that way. And there may be sections where small amounts of dredge have to happen, not like at this level, but small enough so they get deep water, et cetera, and that can be coming up also on private property owners. So this is experimental, but this might help a lot of other people because the guy across the river was looking at one point about having him possibly dredge. So, you know what I mean, we found a solution for him.
okay, I did not recall that we had ongoing conditions with Green Harbor Marina or Green Harbor.
I
Yacht
thought we
Club.
did, Bert. I think go back and
I
look.
may be wrong.
That's why I said check me, because I'm not 100% sure. But the concept I always have, and I know we just did it on the revetment project because Tom was here. I said, would you like ongoing conditions? Because we want to do that wherever possible. That was a revetment work, though. Definitely different. But conceptually, this commission, at least while I've been the administrator, has tried to incorporate ongoing conditions with well-organized, well-documented special conditions, orders of
Okay,
conditions,
okay.
and the final site plan.
So to answer Ken's question, really no difference between commercial or private.
Well, I guess my answer would be, the individual depends on the individual, and that can rotate, and you might not have the same person who understands this as well.
Well,
And-
it depends on, commercial or a private club
Right.
would be the same. It depends on the quality of
Yeah.
the application, correct?
I think that's what we're saying. We're trying to get good quality applications. We work hard at the front end and then give the ongoing conditions. I think this is worth a try. This could be the experiment for other private ones that are smaller. When you see they're small, you're like, you might be a little bit more concerned. This is large. They have to spend a lot of money. They have to have a great plan here. They've invested in the front end. And at one point, this was part of a coordination with 6 projects going on. So they were all in a public meeting that I attended, or not a public meeting, but a meeting I attended where it was Taylor, Green Harbor Yacht Club, Brewer Green Harbor, this project, and then the Harbor Master's got several projects going. So there's a coordinated effort. So it's not like a small, tiny, 800 square foot dredge.
Okay.
Sorry if I belabored.
Commissioners are satisfied. I'd like to open it up for public comments. Actually, Mr. Finn, I was wondering what your recollection is with the Marshfield Yacht Club. I thought every time that there was dredging, I've always had to recuse from those hearings, but I believe that it's a refiling every time they dredge, isn't it?
Right.
So
That was a
this-
different administrator at a different time.
I think the comment I would have is every time that dredging is required, the sampling is required, and it depends on the quality and of the material, what's in the material that's to be dredged. It really defines what's going to happen. And you would want to know what the quality of the material is every time somebody wants to dredge. So, you might want to have them come back, maybe not with a full plan, but with some sampling data, just defining what the material is.
Okay, that,
To his point, I have that and I just read it, but this is not Joe's comment, and I just read that. For each dredge event, blah, 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 provide sampling analysis plan and evidence confirming completion of all testing requirements. That's in there. I just changed another one. I added provide 2-week notification to the conservation administrator for each event. So now we get the notification in advance, right? We get the plan, we get the current permitting, we get the dredge event, we get the sampling analysis, the location, the evidence confirming the testing, and any, fulfilling any special condition requirements of permitting, and follow the long term, you follow the DMF comments, time of year constraint, no barge less than 2 feet, and it has to go back to the Shellfish Constable, Marshfield Shellfish Constable, to work out the details on providing shellfish mitigation.
Does that answer your concern, Susan?
I think so. I'm still not entirely sold on ongoing conditions for this based on what Bill said, and I guess having the plan and include the soil samples, like you had mentioned, an updated plan.
It's essentially, in my way of looking at it, getting a proposal to do this work again, accepted.
Because the plan is where the money is, so.
So, and the Conservation Commission tends to be generalists in general with all these powered positions. And the people that are at Chapter 91 and 401 are expert in this, so you're sort of turning the long term over to them. They have longer term permits, they have different stages. They're not gonna change that and make any ongoing conditions, but the commission can. Our file will grow with time, and if there's a problem, we'll know about it.
Okay, have we heard the conditions in enough detail?
I'll read
Yeah,
it again
could
if you
we,
want.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll read them. I'm gonna read.
Not the standards, but the
Okay.
ones that specifically apply to
D1, I
this.
call out the fish and the shellfish, DO. The standards are here. Provide shellfish mitigation as approved by the property owner and the harbor master. D1s before you start the work. Standard. Provide current Mass DEP license 401 water quality or equivalent documentation to the conservation administrator regarding the approved works conformance with all requirements. This remains in perpetuity. For each dredge event, provide the conservation administrator with the destination of the dredge spoil area, land, sea. We had the 3 on land. We had sea as appropriate. DSA was in there. This private area was also in there. I'll detail that out. The sampling analysis plan and evidence confirming completion of all testing required, special conditions of permitting. This condition remains in perpetuity. Standard condition, D2, standard condition. Then we have the Mass DMF comments taken from the July 20, 2022 letter shall apply. Mass DMF recommends coordination with the Marshfield Shellfish Constable regarding shellfish to be located or appropriate mitigation. The dredge barge should avoid grounding or operation in shallow water less than 10 feet. Any water or silt work shall not take place between February 1 to June 30th time of year constraint. D3, ongoing conditions. Conclusion of the work, describe the plan record. Any erosion control shall be removed and the site shall be stabilized, because you got the turbidity grids out there. You don't want to leave them in the water. Maintenance dredging conforming to the time of year constraints and above special conditions is approved. Maintenance dredging conforming to the time of year constraints and the above special conditions is approved. Maintenance condition, this condition remains in perpetuity and the following ongoing conditions shall apply. Provide current Mass DEP license 401 water quality cert equivalent documentation to the conservation administrator regarding the approved works conformance with all requirements. This condition remains in perpetuity. Provide 2-week notification to the conservation administrator before starting the work. Provide a current plan to the conservation administrator depicting the dredge area not to exceed what is shown in the approved plan. Reference in A's general information section, general conditions, item 8. For dredge events, provide the conservation administrator with the destination of the dredge spoil location. That's going to be the sea and land. We've got 3 lands. Sampling and analysis plan and evidence confirming completion of all testing requirements, special conditions of permitting. This condition remains in perpetuity. The following conditions, DMF conditions taken from the July 2022 letter shall apply, and we have all that already read out to you. So I think you'd see that.
Okay, thank you. So those are the conditions. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and issue special conditions. Have I got a second?
Second.
Can I
David, good
have
on
a
that?
question before we vote?
Oh, okay.
listening to you and Susan Bray, I wonder if those provisions allow them to hand us the documentation after they finish the dredging, or is it required prior to the dredging?
Okay, let me go back and read that. What I can say is, on all of these ongoing conditions, what I can do is I can say before commencing the work, before commencing the maintenance, okay, slash ongoing work, and then all those things flow in there. So each one of those then becomes before commencing the maintenance or ongoing work, everything I just read, the provisions that I just read. So that way, if he wants to come back in 15 years, he'll provide all this, or she. And if it doesn't exceed that, the conservation administrator can figure that out. And it'll be there, it'll be part of the living record. And if it hasn't changed or gotten bigger, then they can go forward. And they have to provide us all this information. If it's hot or it's a problem, they can't go to where they did it before. If Shanahan doesn't need it, then they go to the DSA or some other location. They have the degrees of freedom.
So how do you envision this working? It'll come in as a business item that they're gonna...
I think it could do that, or it could just get handled administratively if this is written to the satisfaction and so on. I mean, if you wanted to come back to the commission for closure as a business item, I can put that on right now and say, well, you'll gather it up, come in and talk to the commission.
I
like
know,
that?
I recognize Mr. Fenn.
I was just gonna make that suggestion, and I think Joe and I are on the same page, even though we're not talking to each other. I would suggest that the way it's worded is provided to the conservation administrator. I would add to that for review by the commission.
Okay, so that would be kind of what would happen under special condition item 8. So what I'll do is I'll incorporate language in to get that. So I become a gatherer of information, I review it, or the administrator. We find out if it's copacetic. If not, it comes to the business session, we flush it out. That's good. I mean, that's basically what's happened in the past, but it gives them the ongoing and allows them not to have to file a brand new NOI, go re-notify everybody, you know, at the local level, because they're gonna be basically working with Chapter 91 and with the 401 water quality cert. So then they can get up and running and go right to them. Streamlines the process.
That work for you, Joe?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let me get that in. Don't let that, so we gotta work on that right now. All right, so we want to...
Okay, I already made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Susan Karen?
Yes.
Special.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous, Bill?
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Nice job, Chris.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You too.
Who's the second on this?
Susan.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, next up, we have 2205 Main Street, Rope Marine, SE 422977. The applicant's representative has submitted a letter requesting the withdrawal of the proposed project. Because we had an RDA earlier this year that exceeded its scope of work, we were hoping to capture that in the as-built for this NOI. So because of that, I would move that we vote to table this withdrawal until I am able to get an understanding of what their plan is going forward. We have to be able to capture the additional paving that was done and is not reflected on any as-built. So I move that we vote to table this withdrawal. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, certificates of completions SE 420549, 25 Carolyn Circle. This is for a partial COC. The attorney for the buyer performed a title search and discovered that Lot 1, now 25 Carolyn Circle, has a recorded orders of conditions associated with this project. Prior Conservation Administrator Warren Harrington had issued a letter indicating the road work was complete, and Bill Grafton has confirmed with the town planner that the work was performed according to planning requirements. So I move that we vote to approve and issue a partial certificate of compliance for 25 Carolyn Circle, Lot 1 under SE 42549. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Chair Henry, if you could just have a second to kind of elaborate on that. So there's subdivisions that are all over town, and they're not closed out, and there's a lot of private properties that are locked up because the developers have left. And this is one of them. 7 lots are locked up. So a property got recently approved before, I think, May-ish or so, and that's this property. It had 3 prior orders of conditions, and it was also involved with this subdivision. So this is a partial to get it done. I was talking to one of you the other day about the new commissioners about partials. So they're done, but 6 other properties need to deal with it. Otherwise, we got to find Aldo French and get him to close the thing out, and that's not too likely. So each one of these needs a partial, and that's what's going on here.
Okay, thank you. Next up is SE 421012, also Lot 1, Carolyn Circle, now 25. Work was never completed, work was never started or completed for this NOI. All work is currently permitted through SE 422984. So I move that we vote to approve and issue an invalid order of conditions, as the approved work will be pursued under SE 422984. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SE 421763, 459 Highland Street. I move that we vote to table this to the September 7th, 2022 meeting, and until the after-the-fact NOI is submitted and approved. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Ken.
Ken.
That's Ken.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So France, we got- that's just-
Okay. SE 421917, 13 South Street. We have been discussing this for some time, and I know we have various comments. And would you like to start? And
What's your name for the record and your address, please,
So,
sir?
Michael Bear, 32 Farragut Road. I am the counsel for Liam Lowney, who is here. To my right is
Mark Warner, I'm the counsel for the seller.
Okay.
So this last meeting when we met, Madam Chair, we discussed that we were going to review with the building department to talk through these different concerns or logistics of the removal of the floor. Can I just see the picture that we have?
Yeah, if you, once you guys sit over here, then you can see it better. We're trying to come up with something that was amenable to the commission and to the buyer-seller team so that they could see. We have a couple pictures, not a whole lot, but these will do.
Yeah.
And this line that was drawn here, you know, this was what town council said in front of town engineer might be the way to go, so, you know, just so they get the background, what we talked about before. Okay.
Yeah, so essentially, when we confirmed with Andrew, and I don't know if I have in my little packet here, I can hand them out to the commissioners, the building inspector's comments that he sent over to the commission. Does everyone receive those?
We
Past August
all
3rd?
have those, yeah.
Okay, so this past August 3rd, he sent over comments basically saying that the removal of the floor would trigger, building permit for modification of the structure, floodplain permit, review by a structural engineer, perhaps FEMA involvement, because then we would have to pour down like gravel on the inside to sort of raise the grade to meet the outside We would be removing the vapor barrier that the building code requires from inside of a foundation like this. So in really sort of racking our brain and trying to come up with a solution, we would like to propose to the commission that we essentially install drainage on the floor, and which would allow the water to come out. You've got some holes there behind the post.
So, okay, where should I be? Just tell me to go 6 o'clock, whatever, 12's this way. 3 o'clock's that way. Where do you want me to be?
So let's say behind the post, 12 o'clock, right in the middle there, we've got those blue items there. Are those the vents, Liam? I don't think those are vents, right? The vents are a little up.
Yeah, I think your vents are, see these
Yeah,
white?
so the vents are up, yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, any concern with the water being on this floor and finding its way to the ground would be in that probably 6 or 8 inch barrier there. So we would basically engage with a structural engineer to do the math, to figure out what size drainage, either a French drain or something, that would get water, to the ground as quick as possible, because I think that's the commission's concern.
Currently, there, I was
So just, Mark, I know I'm the attorney, but your address, oh, we got it.
I live in Westport,
All right.
518 Old County Road. That's my
18,
office.
okay, great.
Currently, in there's a existing, I guess, 2 foot by 2 foot hole with this little concrete is pure sand underneath. So currently, water is going there. So we came up with the idea of adding a few other holes, maybe 3 by 3 or whatever. So you have drainage going through. We still have compliance with the flood control management that the inspector has involved with this, and it would eliminate a lot of additional permits that we required involving with FEMA, so on and so forth. So the commission would get their permeability, and there's still the slab would be there, which is the mud slab, and of that, my house.
And we would still need to confirm with Andrew that this alteration would not trigger the same permits and things that complete removal would essentially trigger. And as a follow-up to that, logistically, we would propose basically an amended order to allow this alteration, or the condition to continue with this alteration. So that's the order. We would then, I believe an amended order requires an additional hearing, correct?
It has to be, that can't be expired. This one's expired, so that's not an option.
Okay. So, I guess as a concept though, I'd love to hear feedback on the proposal of the drainage.
Well, I'm a little confused. I have the building commissioner's comments from the prior, for this hearing, but at the prior hearing, his comment was, this is an email from Andrew on July 18th. A mud slab is not constructed of mud at all and is actually a non-reinforced floating concrete slab that is far less thick than a structural slab and is not used for structural or lateral support. Mud slabs are not structurally connected to the foundation or footings and are constructed of a more fluid type of mix with less compressive strength than a typical structural concrete.
Yep.
So, my understanding is that the only time one of these mud slabs is structural is if it's at a 45-degree angle or whatever, and a flat one is not structural. But now Andrew seems to be saying that it is structural, or you need a structural engineer. That confuses me.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that, but so I guess that's a question for him, because I think he put the structural engineer requirement in a similar email
Right.
on August 3rd.
Yes, I have that email from him, but this
Yeah.
previous one from the first hearing, he had a different
Yeah.
comments,
So
so.
he's saying that the placement of it isn't structural, but perhaps the removal of it or the alteration of it would require a structural engineer because of the proximity to the floodplain, of the fact that it's in the floodplain. That's what I would assume.
Yeah,
Because of the surrounding factors.
I think we need some clarification. I mean,
Could he
Other-
perhaps be alluding to the fact that to remove the concrete would involve an impact hammer and the vibrations might cause negative impact on the structure itself. It could be that too.
Possibly.
I'm not an engineer, I'm not a,
And he's not on.
I'm not the building commissioner, but we have sort of contradictory comments.
Certainly is one requirement among many.
And I know we also checked in with Rod Procaccino, the
Yeah.
town engineer, who also said these are not structural slabs.
Well, just to be clear, he said this was recommended as a mud slab, not required, and he sees no reason why it can't come out, flat out. Is he structural? No, but does he have a lot of experience with like steel and all kinds of things? Sure. So when you get into that, if you're going to force a structural, the commission's going to require a third-party structural typically that they pick at the expense of the property owner, and that's how that goes. And town council's weighed in with both Chair Hannafin and I, so I think you got a lot of work there, you know.
I didn't catch the last part. I'm
Well, I
sorry.
think that town council did tell us.
Did you speak with Bob Galvin
When I
today?
spoke to Bob, I haven't spoken to him today, no. When I
Okay.
spoke to him, his initial thought was to amend the order and allow, and basically to amend the order to recognize that any further work done on the property would require the removal. And that's fine. We didn't go in that direction. I think that if we were to apply, we could, I don't know, do you reopen the order and then amend it?
No, it's got an expiration date. This is now a, you know, expired permit. There's no avenues to reopen it. That's why I just said to the last guy, get extensions, because he's doing a pool project.
Okay,
Yeah.
done, Bill? Or-
Yes, sir.
I saw that note from Bob Galvin, but that's not a direction that either one of you want to go.
Well, I mean, I think that we eventually would need to amend the order. I think that we would, if we went with the drainage, I think the order would need to be amended, but now it sounds like it can't.
You can't amend the order, you could make the modifications. Right now, you have to do the following, either get that out of there to satisfy special condition G, or Bob Galvin also said something like this, which the town engineer at the time was nodding, okay, leaving you small structure around here, like, you know, small, spread footings, you might call it, I guess. I don't know what that'll do and not do.
So that would be an open.
You would, this area here that I'm touching is open, this area here would be possibly left behind.
Okay.
Then Attorney Fournier also talked about leaving a 3-foot around here. These are all ideas and possibilities that I would recommend you start vetting out with the commission, because you gotta have an open setup down for
But I
structure.
believe that every one of those proposals, and I think that Andrew
Okay.
indicated that, would require all that additional permitting. So we're hoping to, I guess, avoid that, to provide the vapor barrier that's needed, that's required. So what, did they talk about?
I'm a little confused about a vapor barrier. I don't know of any requirement for a vapor barrier there.
So the town engineer called dust cover, you know, that's kind of what they talk about in general, but I didn't see anything about vapor barrier either.
Oh, in Bill's and Andrew's comments, Andrew's comments of July 7th, halfway through the second paragraph, for the sentence beginning, they are used. They're used in cases where it's difficult to access the area to be poured so that the mixed flow can flow like mud and level out and meet the requirement of a slab and vapor barrier.
Staying corrected, staying correct.
We don't
And the fill
require one.
elevation requirement
We don't
for an
want a
enclosure
vapor
below an
barrier.
elevated
So-
structure
So
in the flood zone.
so Bob, just to help out everybody, so Bob had said to Chair Hannafin and I, is it okay if I paraphrase Bob, Chair Hannafin? He basically said that special condition G, okay, it basically modifies the plan, and the plan did say recommended. So these people put this in here, and that was an illegal, unpermitted activity. Now that could, I don't want to say anything because I get in trouble for it, but there's a cost to that, and it's a daily cost. But nobody's going there. This just has to come up to speed. We just want to, the commission typically just wants to resolve its special conditions. You took care of D, took out the windows. Took care of E, we need to get that deed recorded separately and then make it part of ongoing conditions, so you get E done. And G, something satisfactory to the commission must be handled to get rid of G.
So that's what we're. that's
You're in
what
Berry
we're
Beach
trying to
Coastal
do.
doing it, it's gotta go, you know? That's why they did this back then.
But if it goes, if the building, there are building code concerns if it
Well, no, it has to be coordinated with that, and that's changed, so.
I would be satisfied, your proposal about providing drainage, with an analysis that it will drain,
Okay.
I would be satisfied with that.
That is not consistent though, Bert, with what was told by Bob Galvin specifically, that we'll get this all over all the Barrier Beach coastal dunes. So that was specifically told to, I
No,
believe.
we're resolving the slab. We're creating drainage within the slab. You've got a concrete perimeter around that thing. These flood vents don't function the way, a pier or a helical pile would. You have to have, 8 inches of water on the outside, before it's gonna enter those flood vents.
I would
So
caution,
it's-
just be careful on this, because your Barry Beach coastal dune, you can't have anything that impact the flow of the sand, that's this 100% here, okay, or the water. So maybe the water works when the vents are open, but we know they weren't open, so the water was not going through. So that wasn't working until they came back for the conditions. And the flood, I don't know of what kind of drainage would actually satisfy special condition G. So that'll be interesting to see that possibility.
We have reached out to the structural engineer who did initially do this design, and I think he would be willing to present something based on the height, where the water would be an issue. And it's a simple calculation at that point, the height of the water, the size of the area, and how much drainage would be needed.
Again, it's also the sand, and the cover there is going to cover the movement of the sand. So you have to have permeable material. The lady who just came in, we said that under her deck, it needed to be permeable and stay open for this reason, because she's in Barry Beach coastal also.
That's ideal, but we haven't got that here.
Well, they should never have gone in, is what I'm saying, Bert. I'm sorry nobody was watching for conservation back then. It's a bad thing that we've adopted.
Very specific.
He was, and the reason I asked if you had spoke,
Commissioner Ring, I didn't.
Joe said he remembers Bob being very specific, that the slab had to come out. I was speaking with Bob this afternoon, and he was going to try to reach you, and apparently he did not, so.
I think it might be good, Chair Hannaford, for you and Town Council, maybe Attorney Baird to speak, to close the loop, because we've all got different messages, and we need to have one message that works.
Okay.
Something like that, you know what I mean, would probably be the best thing.
Right, I gave him a very rudimentary description of what you were proposing, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna call Mr. Baird, but that didn't happen,
I
so.
got a call into him early this morning anyway.
Okay, so, yeah, I think we need to, we have a lot of moving possibilities here.
Well, okay, please finish.
No, I'm finished, go
I
ahead.
guess I would love to hear from the commissioners to get a sense of, Commissioner O'Donnell seems to understand, well, not everyone understands, but, is in agreement with the search for some sort of drainage, I guess. I mean, is there a way to get a sense from did any of the other commissioners have any questions or anything, or does everyone kind of follow what we're trying to get at here? I feel like we're trying to we're trying to comply with getting the water to the ground as fast as possible.
And the sand.
It's most basic function.
I understand that, but I feel hamstrung by Attorney Galvin's opening comment, which was, the slab has to come out.
And he offered this to Chair Hannaford, he offered a small area here. This was him, he drove this. Now, he's not an engineer, town engineer is next to him. Chair Hannaford and I have talked about this, and Commissioner Ring was present, so, as well. So that's what his concept was, but he's not an engineer. So I would say that we have to have the special condition G in a way that you meet the performance standards.
I would say that if the structural engineer that did the work is willing to come back to you with whatever solution he may see to making this drain, and maybe then we can discuss that with Bob.
I think the concern, though, from the removal, it just sort of brings us back to the issue of needing, like, now we're talking about FEMA approval, and we're talking about raising the inside up to the outside grade, we're talking about floodplain approval, we're talking about, and the floodplain manager of the town has repeatedly said this is an effective way to do this in this area, and I understand that it doesn't satisfy, again, the need of getting the water to the ground, so it doesn't go to the street, that's the point, right?
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that we can have some kind of drainage calculation that would accomplish.
So one thing that Bob said to me, Chair Hannafin, in I think a text or whatever, was that it's the regulations are primary here for this Concom makes the determination. This is Berry Beach Coastal Dune, and then the performance standards apply, and that's the critical thing. The rest of this, it's unfortunate, it's just unfortunate this happened.
Well, somehow we have to get the legal and the structural and the conservation straightened out.
That's
And-
why we had to continue last time to talk about this time, and now this proposal, so now we have more.
Right.
A little more resources.
I would recommend that you get with your structural engineer and that you speak with Attorney Galvin and maybe give him flesh out the basics that I gave him of what are being discussed. And he may say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Or,
I think you are important to be in that conversation, Chair Hannafin. Yeah, that's my feeling. You make the call. That's all.
I just wanted to, you asked for everyone else's, or
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner O'Donnell. I think, it would be a satisfactory, way to resolve this, would be some drainage like you guys have proposed.
Okay.
Duly noted.
I did talk to a structural engineer who said he sees no reason why this should not come up.
Okay. Yeah, again, I would go back to the vapor barrier, and there were the cornucopia of permits that come with altering the inside of the structure, removing the floor of the
There
foundation.
can't be a vapor barrier because we don't want one on this site,
But the building code requires it.
not in this application.
Okay, that's the building inspector. Am I not reading it right? The building inspector's email when he said that vapor barrier is required?
Well,
We don't have them in others that he's approved recently, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Because the building code usually calls for, when there's a dirt floor in the crawl space, there'd be a vapor barrier. And I think this is where it was just put in there, you might have meant, well, you could also possibly put a vapor barrier underneath the joist, so it's not on the ground. And that might.
Right, I think he was making sort of general comments where the mud slabs are used in cases where it is difficult to access the area, to be poured so that the mix can flow like mud and level out and meet the requirements for a slab and vapor barrier.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think that means this is a required vapor, well,
It isn't required. It was, the plan said recommended, to Chair Hannaffin's point.
Yeah.
It's recommended in the approved plans. And special condition G, as per town council, modifies the
underneath the
plans.
joists, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the vapor barrier would be up
So
where
what is that function? And just sort of out of curiosity, what's the process when someone comes to the building department with a proposal? Is it the building department's responsibility to reach out and see if there's any orders or
So
conditions?
around 2008, just to your point, there was conflicts between around all over the place with coastal. So Concom's and building started to unite through the state DCR and also CZM, and they came up with cooperative strategies, especially in these Berry Beach coastal dune environments. And if you're in that environment, it's substantial deformation or certain types of building, it's up on open piles. And the performance standard says the sand's gotta move, the erodible soils, and the water's gotta move. That's basically Barrier Beach coastal dune. And that's what you're in here, and that doesn't allow it, so that's unpermitted right there.
No, I understand that point's been made.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to build it up, I'm just trying to factually bring it together.
But I guess
I
as
think we're pretty
a
well
practical
aligned.
matter, though.
I think
if
we
we've got-
are.
As a practical matter, if we've got building department approval, is there a mechanism just on a town perspective for the departments to communicate so that, because we've talked a few times about making sure this doesn't happen again.
Right.
So are there any mechanisms? I know I served in one department and we had some communication with other departments, but it wasn't habitual.
I would say that Marshfield is currently in the process of trying to institute that process so that all of this permitting between building, floodplain, conservation is moving in a smoother manner, and people are talking to each other. But because that's a somewhat new process, we have a lot of kinks.
Yeah, of course.
well put.
And that's sort of where we are right now. So from my perspective, you know, we've got a condition that wasn't met. Town council said, you have to take that slab out. The building commissioner is saying a couple of different things. So I would like, I think moving forward, if your structural engineer has something to suggest, but you and I need to talk to Bob.
Yes, yes.
Just suggest in terms of,
You need to vet it out.
And see if he thinks it would be permissible to do something other than remove that slab.
okay. Would we want to include Mr. Stewart in that conversation as well?
We could do that.
Okay. I mean, he's a town employee, I don't know.
Yeah, right, and he's in the mix, and he's, you know, he's throwing some other ideas out here, so.
Okay.
You want me to join you too, Chair Hannafin?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I wish we could get this resolved, and we
I
will,
know, and
but
we-
it's,
And we thought that we
thought you
talked
had.
about removal, and then there were really a lot of concerns from the.
Right, a lot of other things came up. Yeah, no, that's news to us.
Yeah. Commissioner Dodge, you keep raising your hand like.
Oh, no, I'm just out of hands, sorry. I'll raise it high if I need.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
I wish we had a better answer.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
do
the way
too.
it is right
No, I
now.
understand.
Sympathize with the situation.
Nobody
here.
likes this one at all, trust me.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
so you're gonna table,
so I move that we vote to table the request for certificate of compliance to allow time for the representatives, the applicant's representative to remove the cover or
well, I would say to, provide, to research
a another
alternative-
possible alternative solution.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
okay, Joe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, take care, see you later.
Okay. SE 422460, 110 Elm Street. Bill, do you want to address this?
No, I think Mike's
Or
got
does
this
Mike
one.
have
I'll
it?
address
Okay,
that
I
one.
know this goes back a ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mike's got pretty view to it, so he knows. I'll move it around for you.
So there's if I may.
Yeah, you want to take them? All right, let me get that so you can see it.
Thank you. Yep, so for this property, there are 3 parcels extending in this direction, and there's a wetland that runs across the 3 of them. There have been, I have other pictures here to elaborate, but there has been unpermitted expansion on these decks here. This deck is new, this deck was expanded slightly, and then there was an unpermitted addition, small addition connecting the home and the garage on the site. This is a panoramic view of the wetland behind the home, the wetland layer. And then this is the adjacent property, and you can see where the conservation markers are on the adjacent property. We were suggesting that the conservation markers be extended into this property and also around the back, because the homeowner in this parcel will have access to the backyard beyond the
Yep, that's
wetland.
perfect.
Yep.
So that's great. That's a great call. This is a complicated property that, you know, was essentially, they were all kind of commingled and had issues. That wetland system runs through. This is the one he was just showing you, 116, that just got closed out about 2.5 months ago. It's got conservation markers here. This has nothing. You can come in behind it here, or you can come in here. It's basically mowed right down, and it'll probably go away unless you protect it somehow. Somebody will make a mistake. They might just move in there. So conservation markers would be a good solution. Mike picked up these different additions here. There was a 2014 RDA for the
That was for
it's
the,
small deck expansion. Actually, sorry about that, the addition was handled by the RDA. So it's had 2 RDAs, It's had 3 NOIs, 2 certificate of compliance on the NOIs. There was a driveway project because there's a complaint from across the street, C Street, 2019 RDA, that's done. 2014 RDA handles the addition, and then the purple that Mike called out is what's left. It seems like a good compensation or mitigation to have conservation markers, say at the 5 or 10 foot, or right on the wetlands to protect it in perpetuity going on both sides.
So there are no conservation markers on this
Not on
plan.
And
this
the other
parcel.
thing is, this plan doesn't call out the 50 and the 100, which it could be easily done by turning on a layer, and then they would show it forever, and then you'd have conservation markers permanently here, close that out with ongoing conditions, the new buyer comes in, and they won't mow down the wetlands.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I would move that we vote to require the submittal of an after-the-fact RDA for the decking and the location of conservation markers, I would say 5 feet up gradient of the wetland.
So that was one solution, and the other one would be, the second one down, to allow me to have time to talk to Rick Grady about a solution to the small deck that was not permitted, meaning that he's gonna put conservation markers, add the 50 and the 100, and show us evidence of it, and it's done. We could have it done in a matter of days.
Solution, isn't it? Same solution, isn't it?
I
Yeah,
thought
but
so.
you're gonna get an
Well, it would be
after-the-fact.
a de minimis change to the
Yes.
COC, right?
So we're trying to get the COC to permanently carry this. The RDA will be, you won't have a recorded plan, referenced and so on. But in the case of altering this on the COC component, you put in whatever the amount of conservation markers are, the as-built will reflect that. Then you have ongoing conditions reflecting those conservation markers, no mowing, down gradient of the conservation markers, and then you will save this wetland. If you do the RDA, there's no recording, so therefore, just, Mike and I will be busy the rest of our lives trying to back up those. Those are by
Right,
honor
okay,
system.
got it.
So you get the markers and you get the changes put on the as-built.
On the as-built.
It's easy, yeah, it's easy.
Okay, but so we're gonna go to item 2 and vote to table it to allow you to speak.
Yeah, and then I'll take care of
Okay.
what the commission wants me to do.
I
unless you
cancel
want me
my,
to submit
my
it.
first motion. I move that we vote to table to allow the conservation administrator time to speak with the applicant about a solution to the small deck that was not permitted, with the aim of getting conservation markers on the
As-built,
as-built
and then the 50
and
100.
record it.
Yep.
Yes. May I have a second?
Second.
Joe?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, SE 422808A, Town of Marshfield,
Great job.
46 to 50 Bay Avenue,
no worries. I
within
mean, I got a little
14 to 162
You did a
Bay
great job.
Avenue, SE 422808. This is concerned with the seawall repair and getting the funding reimbursement. This will close out the after-the-fact work performed in the vicinity, and the DPW can close the permitting process with FEMA and get the money owed to them. So I move that we vote to issue a partial COC for work performed in the vicinity of 46 to 50 Bay Avenue to be approved under SE 422808 amended. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
All in favor? Aye. And now we are on business item 5, an enforcement order at 987 Ocean Street, which was unpermitted removal in bordering vegetated wetland and buffer zone.
Okay, I got it. So you've given a revision here, Chair Hannafin and Commissioners. This was, this area, you see this dark area here, they ripped into a wetlands, and every one of these neighbors over on Leon basically kind of came down one by one and complained, and they also got onto this property as well. So the fourth division, we got a wetland delineation in here. There's some small amount of riverfront, a little bit of natural heritage. Natural heritage said they don't see a demonstrable impact or an adverse take to the animals or their habitat, so that's taken care of. We had a pretty scant plan, but as you can see, there's a lot of activity here. So they put on an image so we can see where it is. Conservation markers were to be at the 50, which is out here. I'll zoom in a little better. And this is pretty good quality. All right. There's a tree right here. There's a small wetland that wouldn't qualify as a wetland, but it's just sitting there because a lot of this has been filled. And they're gonna save all along this 50 here. Okay. And right into here. But when they got here, the 50 actually needed to be pulled back because, you know, you could see 50 would be right back here, you know, right over here. So we allowed them to come along here, if that's okay with the commission, establish this. We also, on the back, have a fence that, when they did the cell tower work, right around here, this fence back here got conservation markers, and I believe they're still showing it. It says fencing. Right, can you read that? A little blurry. Fencing, just no disturb limit, so it's got markers also. So we basically have found a way to work with this guy, get those activities which may be encroaching, because there's only a NOI for this, and I think somewhere at the gas station. So this enforcement order reestablishes everything, puts him in a position where this is permitted, it gets protection, and there's also a mitigation going on as well. So the commission adopted a position that they didn't need to do as many plants, which was pretty extensive, and it's under this plan right here. So it's a smaller plan. There's going to be invasive controls because a lot of vines and things out there, and this would be following our standards, and it's all right here. It's ready to go in the fall. We've been talking to this guy since October or November 2021, and here we are. I don't think anybody's here for this. I told Mr. Rigo, who had a very bad bone injury to his leg, and who's their applicant, and also Mr. Holmesy, that I think the commission would be pretty satisfied with this. They produced this. We worked with them on a CAD drawing on a Zoom meeting to close the loop, and it seems like it has everything you want, everything of a good enforcement order that's going to close out now. It'll go through its iteration of monitoring reports, and they'll get a dissolution letter at some point in time, and it'll be done.
One question, Bill. There was some cutting on the abutters parcel, Karen
Yeah,
Donahue.
they had spoken.
Has she approved of the restoration plan?
She hasn't seen it.
She hasn't seen it?
I haven't got a comment from her. They're not here, so maybe we should table this until they show up, and maybe we should table this.
I thought they had given feedback that they talked.
They coordinated, and I haven't held the hand on that one, you know?
I just make it a condition that we get something from her that she's satisfied with the restoration.
Well, we could table this. I mean, that's an option, because they didn't come to the meeting. I did
I'd
tell them.
also like to see where there's no plant placement on here. There's a list, but it's simply, you know.
Symbols, okay, and everything.
Buffer zone, wetland. I
Yep, I
think
get
it
it.
would be preferable to have the actual locations marked
Okay, so neighbor feedback and show plants with symbols on plan.
on plan,
I got it, that's fine, yeah, that makes sense.
because there's gonna be no way to monitor that if
They've
we
been
don't
getting
know
this.
where the
I'm
plants
acting
are.
now as sort of their surrogate, you'd say.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you see on this that you want? I mean, feel like that the plan was great, but the markers were the problem. We didn't see all, so I think we've captured everything. We just need the commission to close the loop on everything, so I'll give them one last punch list and say, you guys didn't show up.
Right.
Could've maybe conditionally close this, but you didn't show up. So now we've got a couple more tasks, and we'll get Rev 5. All right, so.
Okay, yeah, so notification of buy-in from Ms. Donahue and plants on the plan. So I move that we table
Yep.
this revised restoration plan
To the September 7th.
to September 7th to notify Ms. Donahue and have a plan with the plants included. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
That's good.
I move that we close the Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 17th in the town of Marshfield. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.